It's not unusual to be DM'd by anyone. It's not unusual to play D&D with anyone. It's not unusual to roll dice with anyone. I wish I knew a different verse to this song. That was supposed to be Burt Bacharach.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
No, it was Tom Jones.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying for. What did you think it was?
I mean,
let's not get an answer to that. Hey everyone, welcome to Disorganized Play. I did not social media about this a couple minutes ago like I should have. I've been bad.
Oh no.
Where's your phone, buddy? I saw you just panic slap.
No, I was doing a take to the camera.
What was this? That was all.
Oh no, I was just doing a little
drumming thing. Foley, a little Foley. Yeah. Oh no, I see horses off in the distance. Oh no. It sounds like I'm DMing wildcards this Friday. I don't know if Jordan Caves Gallerman is going to be relieved or frightened. Maybe both. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Tom Lommel. I am your co-host and ne'er-do-well dungeon master of the Iron Keep Chronicles here on Wednesday nights. Every Tuesday afternoon, for the most part, I sit down and talk about the issues that are facing the game and how I am dealing with them. I am assuaged in my fears and given the confidence to stride forth and sit in the DM's chair each and every week by my co-host, Mr. Dom Zook.
Every problem that you're running into is a real problem and needs to be addressed.
What would it look like if you DM'd a campaign finale? Yes, Dungeons and Dragons and Therapy. Welcome to our show. That's not exactly what it is. Yeah. That's kind of what the game is.
A little bit, yeah.
a little bit. So, welcome everyone. This is Disorganized Play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're talking about the end of the When a Star Falls adventure arc for the Iron Keep Chronicles. It's a big deal. It's coming tomorrow night on Halloween. I don't know if you have plans, but if you don't, tune in. And if you do, catch us on the VOD tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Pacific time. Mm-hmm. It should be exciting and fun. We had, let's quickly run down the agenda, and then we're going to dive into the midst of the magic. I have to leave at 2 o'clock. Johnny Hollywood has an audition.
Whoa. Broadway Tom Lommel.
That's right.
Has a film audition.
One of my favorite moments from this season is where I made a reference to Johnny Hollywood, and Havana was like, "Okay, so what's the part about Johnny Hollywood?" And I'm like, "Oh no, that's just the way I refer to myself when I'm ever telling a jackass like LA story."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I mean, there's not a real guy named Johnny Hollywood." I'm like, there probably is, but that's not me. Yeah. So let's run down the agenda. Oh, I'm gonna have to squeeze my squinty eyes to see. We're gonna talk about plot radar as in terms of looking back at the campaign, right? So we're gonna use plot radar. It's been a tool that we use week to week to look ahead and see how we pull everything together. We're gonna use it in a different way today. We're gonna show how it pays off tracking those elements week to week. And then we're going to apply what we've learned in part 1 of today's Talk Together to a tool that I call Plot Vice, which is an organizational tool based on Plot Radar, which squeezes things down into a single session or looks at things from a single session type of perspective. And I tend to use it for the last session of an adventure arc, but there's no reason you couldn't use it for every single session of your game. It's just another step down in terms of level of detail. So we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about what's the third thing on the list there?
Gamehole Con.
Gamehole Con! Yeah, we'll give you a little preview of what's coming up there if you are planning to attend. And then finally, we're going to do a little bit of a Kickstarter roundup. There's a couple things that are going. If you haven't backed your campaign coins, I think it's too late. You're going to have to get them on BackerKit. You still will be able to make a pre-order for them, but the campaign itself is El Finito as of an hour ago, and unlocked a bunch of. I actually upped my pledge because they unlocked those cool adamantine coins.
Yep.
And I was like, I really like the look of those.
Yeah.
Me wanty. So that's what we're going to do today. But I thought we would take a moment to discuss last week's session from like a DM and spectator perspective, in terms of what happened and how it went, and what some of the highlights were from my side of the screen and your side of the computer screen.
Sure.
There's lots of screens involved. Hey, help! I'm an old man.
Is that Johnny Hollywood?
I don't know. It was Johnny Hollywood, the original founder of Hollywood. That's why Hollywood is called that. So he is literally 111 years old. I'm Johnny Hollywood. There was nothing here before I put up that big sign that said Hollywood Land, and then the wind came and blew it down.
No, that's not true.
That's not how it happened?
A Nazi flew into it with a rocket pack and blew up the land part.
I feel like...
We've seen Rocketeer, we know.
SF Giants 49er, guten Abend. Herzlich willkommen bei unserem Stream? What? I don't know the German word for video stream.
I just know all the times of day, like good day, good afternoon, good night, and then I know bad words in German.
Sure. Yeah, but what is Twitch going to come and police us for saying bad words in German?
Maybe Twitch Germany.
Swear up a storm if you like. I do know a great German tongue twister, which can't be that difficult because I can do it. But it goes. I was taught this when I was an exchange student there. It goes a little like this. Wenn die Griechen mit den Griechen den Krieg kriegen, wo kriegen die Griechen denn das Heer her? Yeah. So what that literally means is when the Greeks engage in civil war, when the Greeks fight the other Greeks, where do the Greeks get their infantry from if they're fighting each other is the implication, right? But it sounds a lot better in the original German.
Sciamath for wildcards often gives us toasts that are German tongue twisters, which are a lot of fun.
There's one about a squirrel, but I can't say Eichhörnchen to save my life, which you just learned. Hey everyone, welcome to our show, Dungeons in German, Das Schwarze Auge fan show here from Los Angeles. If you haven't played Das Schwarze Auge, there was recently an English edition that is now available for purchase at a fine gaming shop near you. I don't know. I don't know anything about Das Schwarze Auge other than it was popular alternative in Germany when I lived there to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I no idea.
What a fascinating sideline jaunt down the strolling realms of... Thanks. I hope you appreciate this one-on-one fan service.
Disorganized play.
We're offering you SF Giants 49er.
Esoteric German RPGs that...
It's not that esoteric, but yeah.
It is if you're not in Germany.
When I lived in Germany, I wanted to play like D&D with my host family, and rather than send away for the books because it was expensive to get them shipped over, and rather than buy the German translations, I made my own RPG.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a trip and a half. So there we go. Yeah. All right. DJ Regular was also in Germany. Well, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Learning a lot. Let's talk about since we're supposed to keep it tight.
Right.
Like I said at the top of the show.
We're only 11 minutes in.
That's
this is
right.
fine.
We got
49
minutes to go. So let's talk about last week. First of all, we had two guests sitting in playing Horcrux and Balvalor Dragonwind.
Team Rocket.
Yeah. And I felt a little bit bad for them because they were sort of put in this adversarial position of, it turns out that their characters really are kind of dicks.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job of kind of treading that fine line of like, we're elves and we know how to do a lot of things. And also, you're not elves and maybe we've done some things that are bad, but we don't care because we have our own reasons.
Right, yeah. I really liked the interaction between the two of them, and then how it affected these two as well. And yeah, just kind of that whole thing of, when he was trying to fly the gyrocopter or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just all like, is that like normal or like what's...
It was a little bit like they were the substitute audience, right?
Yeah.
For the bizarre hijinks that always invariably happen between Strum and Alton, right?
Right.
Like they were sort of the surrogate sounding board there. So that was fun. And I baked in like that whole like end scenario of you can cut a deal with me, but you're not getting out of here unless you reveal a secret. And I really enjoyed that trope because it allowed me to plant information that I wanted to, as a DM, I wanted to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But I left it with, it sat with them over there, so I didn't have to just sort of like crudely jam it in there.
Right.
It was still a little bit stilted because they're like, well, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to make sure I read this right. Which is not something, I expect them to come in and pinch hit and be able to just fluidly know like, oh, I can just toss this off, X, Y, or Z. So, yeah. But that was it did definitely, like, I'm glad it was at the end because it definitely set the party against the elves. They were like, you did what?
We could kick you off this.
We're leaving you here. Yeah. So that part of it was fun. Mm-hmm. I thought, so just to back up overall, I thought it was a great session. We got a lot done. We really stayed on track. You will note there wasn't any combat.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a lot of dice rolling for the most part.
Except for on Alton's part.
He was, well, I mean, I felt like I owed some sort of nod or skill challenge to the idea that he's never flown a plane before.
Sure. Yeah.
And now he has to just try.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a big fan of the born into it kind of thing, just applying like across the board.
Yeah.
Like it's cool that he has a lightsaber that he knows how to wield and he doesn't have to like roll to get used to it.
Yeah.
But it seems to stretch some credibility and believability within the game that he can get into this thing. The guy goes, well, and then you pull this and pull that and then away it goes.
Right.
Especially when it's not a specific magic item. If it's a carpet of flying, like, well, you attune to it and then it works. Yeah. But this is supposed to be some sort of steampunk kind of thing, and so because it straddles that line between technology and magic, I feel like you have to kind of make some compromises there.
Yeah, like DJ says, he needed some sort of humbling because he got the plane pretty easily.
Oh yeah, one round of combat, wang, like, ding, dink, yeah. So,
but yeah, that makes sense to me. And that was pretty fun.
Well, and I didn't want to so we've talked about the role of the DM is to provide obstacles and challenges appropriate to the party's kind of like level of capability, and then reward them for overcoming those challenges. Since it was such a plot-heavy evening, a lot of the challenges were either just sort of role-playing challenges. There wasn't a lot of mechanical challenges that I was planning to throw at them.
Right.
And some of it was like they got through from chat too, right? Like they didn't have to fight any of the guards of the Rat King's lair because they were camouflage in this garbage set.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give players an out like that, you got to build in something that makes them feel like, well, all we did was sit around and talk for 3 hours. And like sometimes it's a good session, and then sometimes people feel like, but I didn't get to roll the dice. Yeah. And there's something to that mechanical, actual tactile feeling of rolling the dice that makes you feel like you are playing the game.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we learned a lot about Warwent. They got to go into the spider haunt. I thought that was like sufficiently creepy for the time that
cool,
we had.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't, I would love to be able to kind of explore it more.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of information dumped from the Rat King. I have to say, I wasn't really planning that Chitrick encounter at all, except that I had tweeted out a picture of Chitrick from the Creature Codex as just sort of like a one-off kind of like, look at this guy. This looks like he'd be fun to have. And like Havana latched onto it and was like, when do we meet that guy? And now I'm like, okay, well, I'm on the hook for a Chitrick encounter. And I felt like that was an interesting make a deal with a demon kind of thing, but in a way that felt safe, right? Or that felt like, okay, we're making a deal that's trustworthy and we're not making a deal like they made with Vitha, where it was clearly ominous and malevolent.
Yeah.
So, is there any?
No. I mean, I thought it flowed pretty well for, and the information was good and succinct, especially laying us up for tomorrow's episode, for the finale. So it's like there was so much to get through and not a lot of, we were down 2 players. So
right.
I was, I think both of us were like, okay, this is going to be a little tough, but I think you pulled it off very well. And I had a lot of fun with that episode. So,
Very good. Well, then my job is done here. Successful dungeon mastering. Well on my way to level 4 DM. All right. So let's talk about plot radar. Let's just make this be real quiet. Be real quiet. No.
Not possible.
There we go. There.
No. Phones don't know how to be
quiet. No noises. So we have used plot radar as a tool for planning ahead. What do I need to focus on for the next session? And then looking beyond that, the next 2 to 3 sessions, and looking beyond that, what else is on the horizon out there that I need to take care of? Well, how does that tool help us now that we're at the end of the arc, right? This is our last session. So we've seen plot radar sort of get attenuated. Like first the distant column started to drop off, and now we're in the place where approaching and it has dropped off, and there's only going to be immediate. There's only next session. That's all there is. Well, how do I use a tool like this, which is designed to let me see the future and juggle those elements when I'm at the last session of my adventure arc or my campaign arc or what have you? And the answer is, because we have filled this out and we look at, so what kind of, this is from last week, right? Let's look at this one over here, huh?
You can pull it this way.
A little bit like that. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. So we had distant fallout. That doesn't exist anymore. And now we have these things that are like dangling and dormant over here. But we have this whole list of things that's retired. Now, if we want to just quickly like check in from last week, we learned stuff about Garacus. We have not delivered the books. We have not encountered the Blood Shadow of Lurk. So this is really our immediate column, right? If we were to be redoing this all over again. And we got, thanks to chat, we got a keyword on the Rod of 7 Parts. This clicker thing is dangling. I don't know whether we'll deal with that or not. But we learned the Grand Druid's fate. We went into the Spider Haunt. What did we learn about Vitha's deal? I don't remember what that's exactly referring to, but
that Vitha would come back for the 4th part?
Maybe. I mean, that was just sort of like, this was written in there as kind of like, there's got to be fallout from this deal. And actually, we kind of dealt with that a little bit too. Alton has a sword and a bow. They got the airship. Jorvin has potions. We haven't dealt with that because Jorvin wasn't here last week.
Right.
All right. So all of this stuff, like whatever, we can check off some boxes, right? But here's what I want you to really kind of pay attention to is our closed and retired column, right? We can essentially do a backscatter radar as we're planning our final session for tomorrow night. A great way to make it feel like you've really integrated the various plot elements and kind of tie them off is to see if you can find ways to bring these things back, right? So instead of doing plot radar where this is looking forward, right, I would suggest that we use plot radar in a way that makes us look backward, right? And so these are things that were, instead of being approaching, this is trailing. So these are things that need to be addressed in the immediate session. These are things that were addressed most recently. These are the things that are far off in the distance. And then the standard thing of things that the party's aware of and things that they're not aware of that maybe you want to call back. And in this closed and retired column, you can have stuff that you don't intend on including in the final session. You know, it's questionable. Do I need to make a report? To the woman who was in charge of Iger's store. You know, I could put that in the dormant category too. It could live over here, right? But stuff that's definitely in the immediate category is what did we have from our previous thing? Garacus and the Black Cube. Boy, my handwriting is terrible.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. I think everyone in chat.
They all agree.
Sorry, chat.
Warwent. The Blood Demon. Like, to me, I look at our finale, and those three things need to be addressed, right? And things that are distant or trailing in here. So look back at stuff that they have recently taken care of. Now, I would argue, certainly in the distant category, maybe not, but the Green Treader elves, right?
Right.
They're in that distant category. Trailing stuff. The Grey Winds, I think, are probably an element that I don't know how they fit in. I don't see them as something that immediately needs to be dealt with. Am I wrong about that? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But they're pretty close. Like, you know, the Elven complicity. I don't know where to put them. Like, they could fall into either one of these categories. But certainly back here would be stuff like the Lumber Camp.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
Right?
I do feel like Eric and Havana will probably bring up to Warwent about the Grey Winds. But I can't, you know, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But
I feel like, yeah. So let's put them as a separate element because it's not necessarily established. I think the party has made an assumption that Warwent knows everything that the Grey Winds have done.
Right.
That's not necessarily factual, right? It may be that the Grey Winds made this deal with the Clicker, and Warwent was like, "Oh, you can find these iron trees? Awesome! Like this iron lumber stuff? Great! This is perfect."
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's more innocent in it. I don't think the party wants to think of it that way.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that's in it. Definitely something that we'll put in this trailing category because it's got to be picked up is Jorvin's potions. I think that actually probably has to sit in the immediate category.
We do have to take care of that.
Yeah, you know, and the fairy, etc.
Right.
I look back at stuff that's trailing. Where did they come from just previous to this, right? So if we cross this off, we could definitely put the Darrow in here as some sort of trailing. That was their previous encounter. And then prior to that was really Derwith, right? Okay. Yeah, permanent marker. I live on the edge here. So
it's not plot radar unless it's permanent.
Yeah.
Just as long as it doesn't go through the paper.
No, it's not gonna. I've got a layer underneath. So the point is, I'm not going to fill this whole thing out. But the point is that you can take the elements that you had in your closed and retired category, and now categorize them in terms of how far away from the player's perception or memory are these things. It's very possible that we could put Strumthrum in severe danger and she'll completely forget about the break in case of glass emergency like bracelet thing that she has. But, you know, if we put it on
Eric
here,
will probably remind him.
probably he remembers everything. So this stuff lives back here. But if you can pull these elements into a session, then it starts to make the whole thing like feel like an organic whole, right? And so you're essentially like kind of like closing loops that you opened. You know, as an improv DM, I open up these things and I don't know exactly where they lead, and oftentimes they get closed over here or they get shelved. But if I can bring them back in and have them pay off, then it really makes it feel like super tight. I'm not a huge believer in absolutely everything needs to be packed into the season finale and everything needs to be related. Sometimes, you know, you have a chance encounter with the Green Treaders and they offer you help just because you did something nice for them.
Right.
Sometimes the Green Treaders show up because their domain is in an imminent danger of being destroyed by the Blood Demon, right? So you can kind of go both ways on that. I don't feel like you have to like make it so tight knit that it seems like a kind of like a sealed universe where everything's related to everything.
Right.
But I think the more that you can take these elements that the party has forgot about that had meaning for them and either have echoes or have callbacks to them, then the more satisfying it is for them to go, oh yeah, wow, that really like, it provides a reflection of the entire campaign arc, and it also provides kind of a satisfying conclusion of like, oh, that's what happened with them, or it's great to see that character again, right? A big part of planning the finale to an arc is being able to revisit the places that you went along the way and the characters that you met in your journey to this climactic moment, right? So, you know, as we had a chat Unlockable last week, the idea of Derwith coming back to kind of be the cavalry, or at least play a role in aiding the party in their quest to defeat Garacus, or whatever you want to call it, that makes them go, oh, we actually finally get to talk to this guy. We were denied the ability to talk to him. Like, Derwith would be a great character to like, and then he morphs out of like tree shape, and then he shows up as this old, you know, really drained kind of individual who has given his all for this fight, right? So that's how I would suggest you use Plot Radar to now, instead of looking forward and go, where do these elements all open up to down the road, use it as a lens to look backward and go, what can I pluck from these various previous sessions and pull into what I'm planning for next session. Yeah. So that brings us to our next topic. So this is just,
hi Kenjia, by the way. Hello.
This is just sort of a way to help organize your thoughts again across story elements. Will it help you plan your session? Help? Yes. It doesn't plan your session. So for that, I have an alternative. I have an alternative tool, which our Patreon backers have access to. And this is called Plot Vice, right? Now, what this is designed to do, is it a little crooked?
Yeah, it's a little.
It's a little crooked.
Yeah. Here you go.
Huh? Oh, we're gonna line up those. Why is this piece not on here? All right. So what this is designed to do is give you the different elements of a session, or since I tend to, and I don't necessarily recommend this, but I tend to have my finales be like giant climactic encounters. And we'll see if that plays out tomorrow night or not. But this is designed to give you the elements of an encounter and then think about how you can pull the stuff that's open and have it be expressed in those various elements, right? So over here we have open threads like the black cube, the books, War went. What was I thinking? You're the Blood Demon. Derwith, Talfi. Those are the main ones, right? These are our main things that we need to close up. We need to get the books and Talfi somehow rectified. Derwith needs to make an appearance. The Blood Demon, and so we go like this, and then we go like this. The Blood Demon and the Black Cube,
slightly off,
and Garakas are all kind of.
Ooh, ee, ooh,
How's that look? All right. So those are the elements that we need to tie off and address in our campaign finale, right? So let's look at our locations that we have for this. I'm thinking about splitting this into two different pieces, right? They're going to go back to the Iron Keep.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
They've also been told that in order to defeat Garakas, they have to go into the Black Cube.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They've been told that.
Yeah.
And they have to place the crown on Garakas's head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a given circumstance. So those are, I think, are our two locations, right? I don't think it's worthwhile to have the party go back to the keep and then journey back to the Tower of the Heavens and then go into the Black Cube and fight Garakas or whatever. To me, that's too much travel.
Yeah.
So let's find a way that we can attenuate that and kind of like tighten that up. Let's do some creative editing to our storyline so that we can figure out a way to say, bring the Black Cube to the Iron Keep.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got some interesting ideas for that. Great. So then those are our two locations. Then let's just make a list of like what the party's adversaries and allies are and what the atmosphere might be at those locations, right? So I think let's do a study in contrast here. Number one, there's a contrast of me talking and Harold snoring, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking very loudly. Harold is snoring softly in the background.
Can we get some snores in chat?
SDS snores. So let's make the atmosphere at the Iron Keep chaos, bloody. There's a frenzy going on. I don't think I would like to launch them into the action at the top of the session and set the stakes for them. Right? I don't think it's fun to have them fly back and then have this like weird like role-playing confrontation with Warwent and talk about the morality of like that might be an interesting session like for a session 13.
Sure.
But it's not a good session finale. Like if we could have a session that was just like, let's have a campaign wrap-up session.
Yeah.
An addendum, right? A ending credit scene. Well, not really an ending credit scene, but it's sort of like a denouement, right? That extra chapter where you just kind of like pull everything together. It's not a bad idea to have that kind of session. We don't have time for it. Mm-hmm. So I would shove that stuff into that category. Let's get them into the action. Bad things are happening at the Iron Keep. I brought this up as an idea a couple weeks ago, but I shelved it because we just had two big combat sessions back to back. Well, now we've had a big role-playing session, actually kind of like two big role-playing sessions back to back. It's a great time to like turn the lever and vary our pace and take a hard turn into bad things are happening. Let's dive into that action.
Right.
In contrast, do we want the Black Cube to be a big, long, protracted slog fight of do a bunch of damage and figure out the kind of like the weird trick to the combat and da-da-da-da? Maybe I'm a little more inclined this time around. Like I've had that session before and I really enjoy putting that terrain together and designing those, those kind of different levels of unlockables and things like that. Those different combat challenges, like that's fun. But I'm inclined to have this be a little bit less of a giant slog fight and a little bit more of like a series of like tests or scenes or challenges or something like that. Mm-hmm. So then let's make this quiet and lonesome and foreboding and maybe kind of ethereal rather than this thing that's like very like destroying very material, kind of like destroying the Iron Keep or whatever's happening here, right? So those are ways that the atmosphere contrasts with each other. And it also kind of reflects the books in Talfi are tied to this kind of like quiet, lonesome, foreboding tone. Tonally, those things sort of match. and the blood demon and somewhat the black cube represent chaos and frenzy and blood. Perfect, right? Like those provide kind of complementary atmosphere to the character or the nature of what's been put on here.
Mm-hmm.
Then, just to help us figure out like what other elements are involved in these encounters, let's make a list of adversaries. Obviously, Garakas, the blood shadow of Lurg, which is the demon. It's been noted that the demon has been spawning minions. Vitha might be an adversary. You could go so far as to put Warwint and the Grey Winds on here, but I've got them in the allies category for now. I think it's a little too on the nose to have them be complete traitors.
Yeah.
You know, the party may see that coming, and they may appreciate that like, oh good, this is our chance to really like get at this guy who's destroyed this beautiful forest. Maybe that would be satisfying, but it also feels a little bit on the nose. It feels a little too
I feel like they need to be reprimanded somehow by Warwint. I like the idea that Warwint's not complicit. He is innocently involved in what the Grey Winds have sort of concocted, but they are not evil necessarily.
Right.
They're just maybe after their own or something like that. But
I mean, I honestly I constructed this scenario around the idea of classic sort of like colonization and mining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from Warwint's perspective, which is a very I don't want to call it capitalist, but I want to call it like technologicalist. I don't know what to say.
Sure.
You know, from his worldview, resources are there to be used.
Right.
And he's using the resources.
Yeah.
So it's short-sighted maybe, but he doesn't really know any better, right? And he doesn't have anyone to impose those ethics on him. So I don't, you know, it's a very morally gray kind of thing, which D&D doesn't handle very well.
Yeah.
But I think that the moral quandary there requires some sort of moral solution to address it. It is not, the game does not work well when you introduce a moral quandary like that, and then the solution there is to use game mechanics like attacking someone in combat.
Yeah.
I don't think that works. You might have something interesting where like you cast a suggestion on them or something like that. But that also brings up its own moral quandary, right?
Right.
But the point being that, like, if Warwint turns into an adversary that is someone that they have to fight, now all of a sudden you've disposed of this moral quandary that you've introduced in a way that's very, you know, one-dimensional, or two-dimensional,
unsatisfying. I feel like.
Yeah. You can't solve a fuzzy gray problem with a sharp black and white sword. So if we look at the allies, like I think Lurg himself may have the possibility of showing up. I think Vitha could be lurking out there as an adversary. So we've got Shalfi is definitely a potential ally. Durwith, the druid. I've even got people under here like Creighton Sark and the Green Treaders, right? Like the Green Treaders, like I said earlier, could show up to like, we're here to help defend. Creighton Sark may make, you know, he's a boob and a buffoon and not particularly, Schlafschuren, not particularly good at his job. But Creighton Sark may end up showing up as some sort of heroic sacrifice. Right? I think that makes sense. The final column that I have on here is a column for discoverables. And I always like to make sure that every encounter has something for the players to discover. So, you know, your job as the GM is to reveal information. What information could be revealed here that would pay off in the campaign finale? Is any of it tied to any of this? Is there a way to harness the power of the Black Cube? Or maybe Durwith ascends to become the new druid and offers Lowstorm, you know, position within the forest as like, you know, please join me on my quest to eradicate the chaos that is spread throughout the Ironwood. that sort of stuff. So I think the thing that, discoverables, the other thing that I like about this column is discoverables can be things that during the course of the encounter, they discover, which either create a plot twist down here or create a shift in power, right? Something goes to a different level. So a discoverable can be as simple as, when I pull this lever, it turns out I summon some sort of elemental who is there to do my bidding for 1d6 rounds. How am I going to use that to my best advantage? Right. A discoverable can be something like that, whether it's a piece of terrain or something that they can manipulate, or a one-time scroll that they can use, or an ally that they can call on. Like, those are things that they're not expecting, which can be sort of either assets or kind of like X factors on the battlefield, right? It can also be you discover that they have a power you didn't reckon with, and then what, right? Yeah. So I think it's important to keep this keep this column as a place of focus. Like, once you have these ideas for this stuff, this all ties things together in a way that's logical, right? In a way that it's designed so that the players can follow, like, oh, the Blood Shadow of Lurg is attacking the Iron Keep, and Warwent and Creighton Sark and the Green Shredders are defending it, and that all makes sense to them, right? That pulls into context stuff that they already know. What Discoverables does is it shakes up that context. It introduces a new element that they weren't counting on, which can tip the balance one way or the other, or has them see these relationships in a whole new light. So that's the plot vice, right? It helps us take the things from our plot radar, whether we've done a complete backscatter, whether we've done a complete backscatter and put everything here, or you just have some of that stuff reflected in the location, in the atmosphere at the location, and what's going on there. It's designed to help you bring these threads together, and really, it's called a plot vice because you're supposed to literally kind of like, you're trying to squeeze everything into one encounter. So I think, I need to noodle on what these challenges are inside the Black Cube, because I obviously have some different ideas and who's there. It feels weird to me to have Vitha show up in any way that's like actually direct. I think Vitha's too smart for that. Yeah. And it seems kind of soon, like, oh, they're back. But Vitha could definitely be the one who tipped, Garakis off as to the location of the Books of Prophecy. They're at the Iron Keep. Yeah. Bam.
I was thinking Vitha would have made some sort of, deal or connection or something like that with Garakis, or even maybe with the Blood Demon or something like that. But just be like, hey, there's something that I need from these people. I'll give you what you want. Right. You bring me what I want. Yep. Everyone's happy. Yeah. Yep. And they don't have to be present, but their presence
is felt. Yeah. And that's something that we definitely I think should put under discoverables is what are the powers of the rod? Right. Because that got activated, right? Yeah. So that's the plot vice. Like I said, you don't have to apply this just to the finale session. You can apply this to every single session if you want to, and it gives you a lot more flexibility of how much do I want to include? I don't have to include it all in this one. You don't have to bake the whole cake at once. Yeah. That's a weird metaphor, but there we go.
It's a piece of cake to bake a pretty big cake, though.
It's a piece of cake. You bake that cake one piece at a time. No, that sounds like a nightmare. No, thank you. All right.
So moving on.
We got 15 minutes left. Yeah. Moving right along.
Gamehole Con.
Are
you going to be there?
I will be there. Yes, I will be there. Not just be there, but I will be there in one of my rare appearances as Bill Cavalier, the Dungeon Bastard.
Whoa!
I will still be giving out my patented jackass advice that is actually 100% serious and hopefully provides insight into helping you running your own game. But I will be there as Bill Cavalier in my full Bill Cavalier regalia.
Yeah.
And you can, well, you won't be able to sit in on a game with me directly.
They're all
full. Those are all sold out. But as Modern Child points out, I will be DMing an Extra Life game called Faded Glory.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't go, you can watch the game on stream.
Bondo, I think, got a spot in one of your games.
Oh yeah, Bondo got a ticket. Very good. All right. So the Extra Life stream the scenario is called Faded Glory. The idea is that the party is a group of retired adventurers, like been retired for several years, kind of all past their prime. Heroes of yore who now you kind of like happen to see on the street and you go, isn't that guy that yeah, I don't know, whatever. Right. So it literally is sort of like a Faded Glory type of idea. And then one of their nemeses from adventures past comes back to threaten the city, and they have to somehow defend or defeat the menace. So they got to get the band back together. And I love the idea of this scenario, and I hope it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm going to try and build some cool chat unlockables so that you can help them kind of like, oh, where did I put that? And where did I put that magic sword that I used to have? Chat unlockable. Ding.
I'm very excited for that. I mean, that's as much as I know about it as you've told me. So I don't know what I'm playing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to get my Extra Life page put together, but Extra Life doesn't want to remove me from the saving throw team.
Oof.
So I'm trying to have to figure out how to do that. I mean, you can still donate to me.
Do
I
that.
guess, but it still goes to a great cause.
We have to look at. I haven't set up anything with Extra Life. I've kind of been sitting on that.
Garav also he set up his Extra Life page as well. If you want to support Garav, I'm not sure if Amy has.
What's
set up
the
hers
cast?
yet,
Let's talk about who's in the cast.
So you got Amy or Paul.
Yes.
Garav Galati. Myself.
Yes.
Then you've got the Double Clicks.
Both
Double Clicks and Rich Milena Weber, who was here last week.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a great.
It should be a great crew. It should be a great game. You can tune in for that. I believe that's Saturday at 10.
10 a.m. Eastern time.
No, Central time.
Central time?
Yeah, Madison is on Central time.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Amy has a page according to Modern Child.
Amy has set up a page. Okay, so 10 a.m. Central time. Check it out.
Yes, that's going on. And then I'll also be doing a panel called Random Encounters That Don't Suck. I talked about this last year a little bit, so I think I'm going to expand this to not just talk about random encounters, but talk about kind of like tricks and tools of an improv GM, because I feel like we've got some. I haven't really talked about plot radar at a seminar before, and I think that would be helpful, etc. So that's a seminar. Also, we have a saving throw seminar happening.
We're just talking about saving throw, just how it started and what might be coming up and what's in store for us in the future. So that's going to be fun. Then I have a panel about how to set up a streaming RPG channel for fun and profit.
What's the profit part?
How
does that work?
Emphasis on the fun.
Really? Is the emphasis on the fun?
Depends on if you're participating or if you're running it.
What time of day?
So those are two panels that we have going on. And we have the game. And also, Garav and Amy are playing in a game with Chris Perkins on Saturday night. And I believe some guy named Matt Mercer is also playing in that game.
I don't know who. Try again.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, no?
Sir? Excuse me?
Yeah.
And I think John Kovalick's also in that game. No, not that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Patrick Rothfuss? Is that? No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, anyway, they're playing a game with Chris Perkins, who some people know, I guess.
Some people know. Very good. Yes. Delightful.
But yeah, it's always a lot of fun. It's a great little convention that Tom introduced us to, and we went last year with Garav, and I had a blast, and super looking forward to it this year. So that's next
If you
week.
have not been, it is delightful It is a delightful con, and it's only been around like 5 years. So I really encourage you to go check it out. I think there are probably around 2,000 or 3,000 people who attend, and they bring in a ton of industry guests. And so if you want to play in a game with Chris Perkins, like you have a pretty good chance of getting into a game with Chris Perkins. It's a really fun. It's largely a D&D con. So if you're there whether you're there to play old school AD&D or you're there to play 5e, they have something for everyone. They have like one of the biggest Adventurers League rooms at any convention anywhere in the U.S. Yeah. So if you're Adventurers League, you could just go play Adventurers League all weekend and not get sick of it.
They also have like Dungeon Crawl Classics, and Onyx Path is also there.
Yep. They do have a variety of other games.
There's other things, but yeah, it's definitely strongly D&D focused.
And I think that they're gonna have True Dungeon again. I'm not sure. I can't remember. They had it last year. I don't know. Go to GameholeCon.com and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun. So that's where we will be. Literally a week from tomorrow, I will start flying out there. So that's next week.
Yep.
And then finally today we have we just want to talk about a couple of Kickstarters that are either happening or wrapping up.
Yeah. So Tom talked about the D20 coin,
Epic D20 coins for campaign coins.
Campaign coins that just ended, but you can probably get on their backer kit stuff.
I'm sure the backer kit will launch in the next week or two.
So if you missed out, hop on, because it's worth. I've been playing with them all day. These are not the Epic D20 coins, but the design is the same. These are just much smaller than the Epic D20 coins. So that's really cool. Spectaculars. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have a game today with Rodney, who created Spectaculars and Dusk City Outlaws. He was going to run a game for us tonight. Unfortunately, due to some travel issues and stuff, he's unable to make it. So we don't have the Spectaculars game tonight. So apologize for that.
We're gonna try to see if we can find a way to like bring him back on, hopefully before the Kickstarter ends. But yeah, I certainly am disappointed that like I love sitting at a table and playing with. It's always great to play with the designer of the game. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat
that. Get their insight into it. I thought about volunteering to sit in the DM's chair, but I was like, we didn't find out really that his travel was screwed up. He didn't know until last night. Right?
Yeah. So he ran it for the folks over at Loading Ready Run last night. So if you want to check out the game at all, go over to their channel. They're good folks. So check it out. Let them know that we sent you so that they know that we exist. Anyway. But so that's that. The other thing I wanted to show off is this. So these guys, and DJ, if you wouldn't mind looking up, this is a Hobgoblin Miniatures. It's a 3D printed table terrain, basically. Let me see here, actually. Let me see if I can show this
how
off.
Handy this overhead table cam is, John? Whose genius idea was it to set that up?
Oh, but it's reversed.
It's backward.
Yeah. So how can I do this? There we go. So
you talk. I'll model. That's my job. I'm a good hand model.
So these guys put together some 3D printable files, essentially. So their whole business is 3D printed files that you can download and print on your own. So print on demand stuff. And what they created, so they had a bunch of table accessories. So little things that you could drop into your maps, like barrels and tables and piles of gold and everything like that. And that you could print on your own. Now, this new campaign is for a miniature city, basically. I can't get that open, so good luck.
You can't get this open?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to cut it?
I feel like no, but because see, it's got the little hinge there. Anyway, so I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it. But so this is basically a tiny little city, and it's really, really fascinating. I mean, let's see if I can get up as close as I can get. Check that out. It's really awesome. Really finely detailed. But it's like instead of having a little city that you, or a little map that's just of the city that you sometimes find in books like Curse of Strahd has like Barovia, you know, and it has a little town that you can kind of, you know, point people to. You have a whole
isometric map, right?
Yeah, you have a whole 3D thing. Now there are a couple of issues with this. It's very delicate. So things like trees and stuff like that are not meant to be handled a lot.
Right.
So you do have to be...
I broke the tree, I will tell you that right now.
So you do have to be relatively careful with that stuff. It's kind of meant to be sort of, you put it together and paint it, and it kind of just stays that way. So it's not super modular if you had like a different idea, but it is possible to pull them apart.
I think it's important too to like realize like the scale. Do we have a regular miniature nearby?
Oh, like a mini of a person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. Here's tech.
Right. So if we go to our fancy overhead cam, so you can see that like tech is a giant, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not meant to be like a
dungeon map.
Hobgoblin 3D. That's the one. Yeah. Something along those lines.
But I think
if you can't find it, I'll look for it and post it as soon as the show's over. But there's sort of a way to attach them. I kind of built a corner here, and that's not quite going to work because you kind of have to finagle it. But anyway, they make some great stuff, and the great thing about them is that it's all print on demand. So they don't really sell these on their own from the company. So this is just a prototype design that they sent me so that I could kind of check it out and take a look at it. But if you have a 3D printer or have thought about doing more 3D printed stuff, like this is a kind of a great little tool, and all of their products are really fun to kind of play with, and it sort of gets into that territory where it's just like, oh, you know, I've always wanted to, you know, just be able to print what I need, and they kind of have that stuff. But this is a neat little tool. So
I think what I like about it is you could literally have just a little like 9x9 kind of town that you would then like paint up, and that would be your home base. And,
yeah, exactly.
And it would just be a thing that you could literally like put on the shelf and take off and go, okay, you're over here, you know, this is happening or whatever. You don't have to like you know, you'd have to draw it out. Like it feels like more of a real place when you can see all of the little buildings.
Yep.
As opposed to those even isometric drawings of a town.
Yeah. Are nice,
but this is somehow more evocative to me.
And the fact that you can paint it, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it, DJ. Cool. That's awesome. They're doing a Q&A on their backer page right this second, actually. So
magic time.
But the thing I like about this is that you can paint it and adorn it and everything, so you make it your own.
Right.
You know, you can put wherever you want. Where does that church go? Wherever you want. But if you check out their page, they have a cool little video of them painting and completing one. A big set, much bigger than this one, with like a river that runs through it and stuff like that. And they have bridges and all these other things. So you can kind of create a whole landscape and city that, you know, like Tom was saying, that you can kind of just have and just like break it out and just be like, okay, where in the city do you want to go and stuff. So.
And I will say too, like, I don't tend to draw a ton of my own like town maps, and so what I will do, I end up spending so much time like looking for, okay, it's a small town. It's not a village, but it's a small town, so it probably has 3 bars and at least 2 temples and a city hall, and then I want some sort of like Wizard's Keep, blah 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 blah, right? And then I go down the Google image search rabbit hole of like, not that one, not that one.
Right.
Oh, it's like this. well,
oh no, that has a
you know,
thing,
and
yeah.
so then you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, what can I, like, how can I take this and then Photoshop it and change it? Or where's a version of this that doesn't have a key all over it, that has all these buildings, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, maybe there's a place on Patreon for that I don't, you know, I just haven't tuned into. But I myself find, like, I'm going down the rabbit hole of, you did it. See?
I did it.
Believe in yourself, Tom.
Easy peasy. But yeah,
you know, so I end up trying to find artwork, and that takes me off on a whole nother journey. And then I end up finding some artwork that I like, but I invariably end up modifying it.
Yep.
And then I ask myself, well, why didn't I just spend the time drawing it or using a cartography program or whatever? And this is a great alternative to give you something tactile that your players can look at, and yet you can configure the layout in terms of, well, what if there were two churches? Mm-hmm. What if there was, you know, what if I paint this black and this is the undertaker's residence, and then I do one that's brown and orange, and that would be the mayor's residence. You know? And I'll put one over here, and then I click, add on a couple other ones. So I like the modular nature of it, and I really do like being able to like have that model railroading experience of like looking and imagining myself, you know, wandering around those streets.
Yeah, it's very much is that kind of model railroad experience, which I grew up with, and having that kind of getting into it, and because it is print on demand, you can make any city that you want. Basically, you know, you don't have to go with the standard stuff. So, and
print on demand is getting so much cheaper. You can buy an Ender 3 and do some configuration on it, and with some tweaking, like you're looking at a $200 to $300 investment. Now, I don't know what your last Kickstarter pledge was for miniatures, but
yeah,
mine was probably $200.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for the miniatures to show up, which I get. That's all fine. Like, I'm not complaining about that, but I am saying there's a point at which you have to ask yourself, the quality of the technology is getting so good and the prices on the machinery is coming so down that from my perspective, it's a question of, do I have room to set this thing up? And do I have the patience to tinker with it? Yeah. And not so much a question of, do I want to spend $700 on a 3D printer? Because that's you're not making a smart investment, in my opinion, if you're doing that today.
Right. So anyway, check them out. I think DJ got the link right up there. Tavernborn, pint-sized realms, 3D printed stuff, and that's it. Yeah, Devin Rue's got great maps for printing out. And
go back her Patreon if you have not. You get access to all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, she's got some amazing things. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little shout out. These guys just started, so they just missed our Kickstarter roundup last week. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're pretty cool, and I think it's a really neat business idea, especially for tabletop folks who are just looking for things. I mean, beyond this, like I said, they have a ton of stuff that's just, you know, accoutrement to put in your dungeon and stuff like that, and taverns. So they have a ton of little files that you can
dungeon dressing accessories and stuff.
Yeah, and it's super cheap because it's just a digital file. So it's just all you need to do is print it out. So you get the printer, and they have some stuff with printers, I think, also on their Kickstarter. So, or at least some direction of where to go.
Right.
So, yeah, that's that.
We said we're going to do a tight hour. We basically did a tight hour. There you go, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow night is the season finale of the Iron Keep Chronicles When a Star Falls. All of the monkey work that I did, I don't know, like the screwing around, the remixing, the jazzification that I did to bring my own spin on When a Star Falls is going to play out tomorrow night. So I hope you join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock Pacific time for that right here on Saving Throw Show. The rest of the week, Friday night, we've got Wild Cards. Saturday at 4 over on twitch.tv.
Well, actually, so we have couples therapy tomorrow at 4.
Oh, I missed that.
But the Broken Pact on this Saturday, because of Extra Life festivities over on the D&D channel, Extra Life is going to be preempted. So it will air basically as soon as it can. Muffled by Pastry Module. I can't see that name.
Manfred Steamroller. Manfred Steamroller.
All right.
100 bits.
I'm talking to you later. Manfred Steamroller. Muffled by Pastry. You know me. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So the Broken Pact will air basically whenever D&D opens up again. So could be 7 o'clock that night Pacific time. Could be later, whatever. But look, it will be premiering sometime this weekend. So look for that. And yeah, so Couples Therapy at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Iron Keep season finale tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Tempting Fate Sunday at 5.
Yeah, Tempting Fate Vast. It's a vast throwback. Capitalist Space Turtles. So you're definitely going to want, and it's a huge cast. Don't know how we're going to do it, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Rick has the goofiest shows.
If you're a Vast fan, you get it.
Very good.
So yeah.
Other than that, early voting has started in many, many, many states. We highly encourage you to go out and get your vote in early, if at all possible. If not, check your voter registration, check your polling place, because next Tuesday is literally a week from today. There are many issues on the table that are near and dear to our hearts. Go out and get educated and make your voice heard. Mm-hmm. You can do !vote for more information. Go vote.
!vote US.
Vote US.
Yeah.
How to vote in the US.
Yeah.
We've led you astray, DJ Regular. That's our fault. Let's vote.
Yeah, but that's it.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to our mods who help keep everything safe, friendly, clean, and accessible for all of our friends who drop in here on the chat. Of course, big shout out to Clipmaster Extraordinaire, DJ Regular. You can join the conversation over on our Discord app and see his fine work in the Clips channel. We have a channel specifically for Disorganized Play. If you have questions about your game, we have a channel specifically about the Iron Keep Chronicles. We have a channel for all of our shows over on the Discord, as well as some general discussion areas. So if you would like to learn more about Saving Throw Show, or you have a question for us, that is the ideal place to do it. You can also @ me on Twitter, @DungeonBastard, or you can just @Saving Throw Show, and the right people will get directed to the right Tweeterunos.
True.
Yeah, that's it. So until next time, let's dungeon!
Boom.
Oh, wow. Well, I didn't have to do a plot radar for that click.